Welcome to episode 2 of the In Dynasty Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Scott Slonaker, and our theme song, Diamonds Ain't Forever by the CrashJonesBand, they are definitely up there in the luminaries of Canadian rock next to Moist and Chilliwack. Absolutely. My guest this episode, Jordan Shusterman, original member of the In Dynasty League. You are the youngest charter member of the league. You are?
Oh, yeah, I am.
And if I remember, you were telling me before, you were in high school the year that the league started. You were graduating from high school. And you have stuck with us, which is amazing. And so we're going to talk about all those changes. That's a theme, really, of this podcast. The sort of changes that people go through over 9 years of a fantasy dynasty league, a league that really hasn't fundamentally changed that much. But then, of course, all of our lives around it are changing, and somehow we're all still here. So how does that
Absolutely. Work? Yeah, man. I mean, it's really wild to think about because, I often do a lot of reflecting on all the things that me and Jake, another charter member, of course, he did not stick around very long, but he was in that original group too. And all the things that we've gotten to do in the world of baseball over the last 9 years, it lines up it's that same timeline. And so, thinking back on all the things that have changed is crazy, but this league has bizarrely been a constant in my baseball experience. So.
Yeah, I know. And, I obviously the league exists because of a podcast. This is a podcast for the league that exists because of a podcast. The Up and In podcast with Kevin Goldstein and Jason Parks, which ran from 2010 to 2012, mid 2012, when Kevin left to go work for the Houston Astros. Jason Parks left to go work he's worked for several teams. I think it was the Cubs.
It was the Cubs at that point.
Yeah. Yep. Now he works for Arizona. I know that. The league started, as we've talked before, started by Crash Jones, the subject of episode 1, and our original commissioner. And so at some point, well, first of all, let me ask the first question. Everybody gets this one. So how did you find the Up and In podcast? You're a high school student. You're in Chevy Chase, Maryland.
Yeah.
Did I have that right?
I'm in suburban DC. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Right. How do I find it? That's a great question. And I think it's also interesting because Jake is the one who really took to it to an extreme degree when I introduced it to him.
Right.
I had been listening. I'm not sure I had been listening since the first episode. If we're talking about, .9ers or whatever, I'm sure I went back.
I found it partway through, but I did become a .9er at some point.
But early, like within the first probably 10 or 20 episodes I was in already. Whereas I introduced it to Jake, I think around episode 70. So
70. Okay. So that's
and then he went back and listened to everything, and then he's
because there are, I believe, 100 and actually I know this because I downloaded the archives as I wanted to go back and listen to when I was interviewing Juan for the original episode 2 that didn't get recorded. Oh God, I feel bad.
It's okay. Yeah. The lost tapes.
Juan is an exceptionally nice human. And he will be on a future episode. Because I wanted to go back and listen to his segment because he was in an episode. I think it was 54. And I only know that because I dug it up. And so there are 112 episodes of the show. So 70 is fairly long fairly far along in the run.
Yeah, but that's when Jake did. But he went back. But I definitely found it within the first 20. Okay. And I'm not sure. I mean, I was much more online in general than Jake in terms of like being on the baseball internet and learning. I mean, this is right when the year or two leading up to this is when I'm becoming a Mariners fan because I'm reading Lookout Landing all the time and Jeff Sullivan. Mariners blog. That's why I was really in on the Mariners, and so very into that. I was on baseball Twitter. I was following all these people, and then I was reading Baseball Prospectus. Like that's what it was, and that's when I was getting into prospects. Right, this is when Jake and I always talk about how the reason why all of this exists is because in school we really didn't like each other in middle school. Really didn't like each other because we occupied a very similar space in our small Jewish private school.
Right. Okay. I remember you said you went to a small school.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and then I went to another small school. So my dad, I haven't talked about this in a long time. My dad actually started his own private school
Okay. That
Obviously,
actually sounds familiar.
Yeah. So my dad started school. So I left JDS, the Jewish day school. So I was at JDS from kindergarten up through 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened was, Jake and I in middle school, Jake showed up to middle school, to 7th grade. He showed up to JDS. 7th and 8th grade, we did not get along.
Okay.
I leave. Jake leaves at the beginning of high school, and he's going to go somewhere else.
Okay.
He goes to another private school. He hates it.
Okay.
At the start of my freshman year at JDS, I was really struggling, and I didn't like it, and I wanted to go to my dad's school. I leave JDS around November of freshman year. Jake comes back to JDS because he didn't like the place that he had gone to the day after I leave. Okay, so it was like a trade, and there were all these jokes like, "Oh, what? We lost Jordan, got Jake." Like, "Oh, this sucks." Like,
you've got a
like,
Jewish
so
kid
happens.
to be named later. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. Jewish kid. Right. Well said. Well said. So we were not friends for those few years, but then I'll get along to my major point here. By 10th grade or so, it was like, well, there's really no one else in our group, in our friend group, in our group of JDS guys who like sports. No one else knows who Jerickson Profar is. Mm-hmm. That was basically what it came down to. No one else cares about prospects, baseball to the degree that we did. Sure, we had some lame Nationals fans. It was like, well, I don't.
I was going to say you're living in Nationals and Orioles territory.
Nationals and Orioles territory, but you have to understand the Nationals. We're talking about 2009, 2010 year. The Nationals are very lame, extremely lame, and very bad.
They sucked so bad they went out and got Steven Strasburg and Bryce Harper.
And so Bryce Harper, I was obsessed with Bryce Harper, like obsessed. There was a time when I kept every article about Bryce Harper in the Washington Post from the day he was drafted until I didn't keep it up that long because it became an absurd exercise, obviously. But I was obsessed with Bryce Harper. And so I went to see him in the minors and whatever. Anyway, I'm getting off track. But the point is, it's when I'm getting really into prospects, and that's when I'm getting into BP. So I'm listening to Up and In. So that's how I really got into it. So I think it was really that. I can't say in particular about, but it was, just reading Parks and reading KG, and it was just the natural thing. Of course, I was going to listen to that. So that's kind of how I got into Up and In.
And then the podcast just, I think because, and I was thinking about this because I happened across when I was trying to locate Up and In, which is not on Apple. I don't think it's on Apple Podcasts anymore. It's been, it's been away for a long time. Kevin Kevin came back from the dead, joined Fangraphs, right? Yeah. And is now, has his own podcast, which I'm behind on, but I have been listening, and it does bring back some of the same magic. It's just there's a rotating co-host, so it's a little different. But some of the co-hosts have been fantastic. I mean, David Roth, Cody Decker, are all great.
And Jake was just on. Jake just did it with
I haven't gotten to his episode
yet. There you go.
All right. What episode?
It was just the most recent one this past week.
Okay. Well, I've got them. So they're all very long.
But this is the thing. This is actually good. We can talk about it. I mean, obviously we have a lot to cover, but sure. It is talking about things that have changed. It's a 2-hour podcast is not as acceptable now. I mean, it relatively it is harder to stomach. And I love Kevin, and I've tried to listen to it, and I've enjoyed it when I have. But it's so funny how at the time when there just wasn't there wasn't such a deluge of podcasts in general. It was 2.5 hours, great, sure, whatever, sounds good. I got no problem with that. Now it's just even now it's whoa, you got that's really aggressive. It's fine. I'm not telling him to change it, but it's amazing how we view it. And even when we recorded our own podcast, the Barbacast and everything, right? We didn't care how long it was, but now doing it, professionally, no, we want to have it be under an hour if it can be, just because it just looks better when people have their people live so many podcasts. If you see 56 minutes, boom, I'll start it right now, versus it's an hour and a half, ooh, well, maybe this is and then you just don't get around to it, and then it's not as timely. And I've just learned that,
and as someone who's listened to podcasts for a long time, I mean, I started listening to podcasts in the mid 2000s. Real quickly, when I moved to Portland, Oregon, I quit my job in Ohio, moved to Portland, Oregon in 2005. With no job. I started working at a CompUSA, which of course has been a zombie brand now for a long time. That gives you an idea. And with my employee discount, I got an iPod Photo. It was actually right around the time that the famous U2 edition of the iPod came out.
Oh my God. Okay. That does date it. That does date it quite nicely. Yeah.
That was before they did the thing where they put their album on everybody's phone, and then, you know, people still like have never been able to figure out how to get rid of it until they get a new device or whatever. Anyway, and so then I started, and I started listening to podcasts then. So, I mean, I've been listening to podcasts for a long time. And you're right. I mean, there are, when a podcast is really long like that, like you have got to be really into it, or else you just sort of, you just stare at them like they build up. You know, I download these episodes. I've got 26 gigabytes of podcasts on my work computer here with my solid state drive. Like I'm filling up my hard drive with podcasts, and like, you know, I have podcasts on flash drives that I'm saved that I'm going to listen to someday, but probably I never will. I mean, I'm aggregating, and I can't keep up with it. I mean, I will never catch up.
Tell yourself like, oh, well, I'll go for a walk, or I'll figure out a time to do it. And let me tell you, a huge thing, especially over the last year, is just like, I mean, I can't speak to you, but this was definitely true when I lived in New York. It's commuting, right? That's when you're listening to podcasts.
Yeah, that's true. And I've been commuting.
Commuting is dead. I've been commuting. I go from my bed to my desk here. That's what I got. So,
I mean, I've been working from home for 5 years, and and I try to listen like during the day and stuff, but you know, then my daughter comes in and bugs me, and, you know, like, or something happens, or I'm just not, you know, or I get phone calls as part of my work, you know, the phone call cuts off the podcast and I like have to shut it off. And, you know, like it just really, I have to be really selective. And some of these podcasts that I've had podcasts where I've been collecting them for 5 years, and I've never listened to one episode. So here's where I confess, and I don't want to get too far ahead of us, because I want to talk about how Cespedes Family BBQ got started. Because obviously at some point when you're still in high school, that's when that came along. And, but I only ever listened to the very last episode of the Cespedes Family BBQ, which I think I actually just saw it on, because it's on Apple Podcasts. Episode 112, or what was that? 112, 90. Wait, is that right? 110, 107,
111.
112 was up and in. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I listened to that one. I'm fascinated with the ends of things. So I listened to the end. I don't think I ever listened to the other ones, or if I did, it was only a few, just because I was like, you know, I came along, and I just, you know, you only have so much time in the day. And so anyway, so there we go. So Cespedes Family BBQ. You guys, you become friends. You're in high school now. You're Jake is going to your dad's school.
No. He's at JES. He's still at JES. I'm at my dad's school, and so we're not at the same school. So that's
okay. So you become friends. You both have this interest in prospects, which I think is I mean, Up and In talked a lot about prospects. Jason Parks is a professional prospect guy, and you know, Kevin was a prospect writer, still is to a degree. So that was a big focus of their show when they weren't talking about mattresses or beer or whatever, or chili. And so you started the website first. The blog.
So it was the blog. Really what it was like, okay, we're having these conversations, a lot of it on Facebook chat. Okay, we think we're funny. Let's do this for our own, just for ourselves. This will be funny. We'll be able to have a place to make our baseball jokes, come up with stupid Photoshops, write about funny baseball names, write about things that we like about baseball, get it out of our system. So be it.
Right. And Yoenis Cespedes, you know, who is an extremely ballyhooed Cuban prospect, comes in, and there's this amazing video it was like a hype video, but it was actually like 15 or 20 minutes long, if I recall.
Even longer. So you know, normally those videos are 3 minutes, and it's batting practice, here's defense, but instead, I mean, it was that, and a lot of shirtless running in slow motion, and then at the very end he's roasting a pig on a spit, right?
And he's roasting a pig.
And so that, and the notion of that, he, you know, sent that video to all 30 teams, and that Billy Beane was like, yep, let's give this guy $36 million, was just amazing to us. And this was right after he had his rookie season where he was awesome. And so like the legend had been born. We had seen him be awesome. Great. We were infatuated by it. Kevin Goldstein had written about this video in particular on BP. So we were just like, okay, but again, it was like, okay, let's come up with something ridiculously silly, et cetera, et cetera. This is an inside joke. This is for us. This is like, I don't have to explain this to anybody. This is just like, oh, this will be funny. So that's what we did. We started the blog. That was December 2012. Got on Twitter like April 2013.
Okay, so the blog didn't start until after the Up and In podcast was over, because if I recall correctly, didn't you tweet or email Kevin and Jason while the podcast was going on?
I did. Wow,
Okay.
this is really good memory here. So,
well, I had gone back and gone through the posts, as I said, looking for the original Crash is Making a League post. So I think I saw some of this because Kevin clearly had become aware of you guys and was like rooting for you, especially after you got your careers going, which we'll get to that. But he has more or less kind of followed. He had started following you, and that's why I was thinking. So go ahead. I'm sorry. Were you?
Well. So you might have the timeline a little bit wrong because I had emailed early before Cespedes BBQ existed.
Okay.
When I was just Jordan, a high school student.
Okay, got it. Okay.
And then what I had emailed about was, I remember this very well. I emailed a question about what Albert Pujols would hit in the California League.
Okay.
That was the premise. Mm-hmm. How good would the best MLB hitters do in a hitters league in the minors, basically over a full season?
Okay.
So I was curious about that. But the other part of it that really dates it, and this is how I know it was 2011, is that I was dating a girl named Colby Lewis. Okay.
Yeah. Same.
I was dating a
former major league pitcher.
I was dating a girl named Colby Lewis.
That's great. I didn't remember that part.
And I teased in my email. I was like, I basically made it like a riddle. Like, oh, my girlfriend's name is the name of a current Rangers pitcher or something like that. And they were like, Neftali?
Neftali. Awesome. Okay.
So, and I don't remember exactly. It was probably in the 50s around somewhere. But anyway, so that was that. But the point is that then we sponsored Fringe Average.
Right. Fringe Average, the podcast that followed Up and In with Mike Farron
and Parks.
Yeah.
So, but it's possible that at the end of that's the thing. I don't know if Kevin ever would have really known who we were, because the real origin, though, is that at the beginning, when we made these stupid Cespedes BBQ business cards, we gave them, I am recording. Sorry, Mom. We gave them.
It is Zoom.
It is Zoom, yes. We went to a Baseball Prospectus event that Jason Parks was at.
Okay.
In the beginning,
I remember hearing about
season.
these. Never went to one.
In June of or May of 2013, and that was when we did our road trip. This was our first road trip.
Okay, I do remember the road trip.
So this was the first road trip because the idea of that was, okay, we just graduated high school. We're going to go drive to Iowa to see Byron Buxton. That was the premise.
And you went to Clinton.
Clinton, bingo.
Supposed to be the worst town in the minors or whatever at the time. Okay.
Bingo. So we go to the BP event at Nats Park. We see Craig Goldstein there, of course. We see Parks. We say Farron was there.
Okay.
We say, hey, we are about, like, literally that day we were leaving. We were going to go to the event and then hit the road. We're like, hey, we're about to start this road trip. Like, here's our card. They're like, where are you going? Like, we're going to Clinton. They're like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, what the fuck? Like, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But that got their attention.
Okay.
We start driving. Jason Parks tweets out, follow Cespedes BBQ. These guys are funny.
Okay.
That gets us to like 800 followers, and we're like shitting our pants. Like, we're like, oh my God, like, we made it. Like, think about it, right? I mean, not just we have followers. It was like, oh my God, like, we got Jason Parks' attention. He thinks we're funny. This is the greatest thing that's ever happened to us, right? Yep. That's basically how it felt. Boom, we go on our road trip. Byron Buxton got promoted like 3 days earlier, so we didn't even see him.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I didn't remember that part. I just remember the part where you went to Clinton and it was supposed to be kind of a...
It was. Yeah. But we still saw Jose Barrios pitch, which was cool. But that was how it started. So we had been doing the blog. We got on Twitter, but like Twitter wasn't doing anything. Again, it was just like our own bad, stupid, terrible jokes, et cetera, et cetera. But then Parks' tweet, that was the first, here, let's put Cespedes BBQ on the radar. And that probably got us to, probably by the end of the trip, which was about 2 weeks, we're probably at like 1,500 followers. Okay. In that summer of 2013.
Okay. So then what that means is Parks probably told Kevin about it because Yeah, because Kevin would periodically, well, actually, I mean, he wouldn't, while he was working for the Astros, he wasn't tweeting about this stuff, I don't think, but he was clearly aware of you. I think and you know what? I wanted to mention this. I don't know if you followed his weekly Fangraphs chats at all since he's been back, but he has mentioned you there too.
Yes, I've.
Okay.
Kevin, I mean, so we've connected with him even while he's been with the Astros a couple times, not just here or there. Yeah. Saw him at the winter meetings a couple times, and obviously very humbling and cool and weird, right? Because what we're just talking about, like this is the whole thing. And Jake's, and you'll listen because I listened to Jake's episode. You'll hear on the Fangraphs one they just did this past week. You know, Jake like really tries to embarrass Kevin, just being like, look, dude, like you're the reason we're doing this. Like Up and In is the reason we wanted to start our own podcast. So this is the other thing I should mention. So we end the pod. So then we get to finish the trip. End of the summer, we're going to school. We're going to 2 different schools. Jake's going to WashU in St. Louis. I'm going to College of Worcester in Ohio.
Right. Okay. I'm going to ask you about that in a minute.
Yes. We can go to Worcester next. Okay. How are we going to keep this up? Okay. Let's start a podcast, not because I guess at that point we have like,
you're separated now at this point by what is it? 500, 600, 700 miles.
Yeah. But, you know, and an hour time zone difference, which was much more relevant, but yeah, you know, we're starting our lives, but, we wanted to have a platform. We wanted to have a way that we could stay in touch, that we could talk about baseball, that we could do more consistently than writing. I think that was the other part of it too. Was like, if we do a podcast every week, that's an easier lift than writing any consistently. We were our own boss and no one was making us do anything, but it was still like, this will be more fun. This will be way to it. So that's how the Barbercast started. First episode was probably like a few weeks before we left for school.
Got it. Okay.
2013.
So you were doing it then. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. And then all through school. And then that's how, that's really just how it all kept snowballing, because that's what kept us keep talking. That's what kept us want to keep making baseball stuff together, keep having conversations together. Not really sums the whole thing up and explains a lot. That and the fact that we kept doing road trips.
And then in the summer. Okay. And then it ended basically when you both got hired by MLB Advanced Media. Right.
I mean, it literally stretches from 2 weeks before we go to school and 2 weeks after we graduate.
Wow.
That's basically the length of the podcast. The weird thing about the podcast, and I've done a little bit of digging on this recently just because I was reflecting on it when Carlos Rodon threw his no-hitter. Carlos was a friend that we had very early on during the show when he was in school before he goes number 3 overall. And the crazy thing looking back.
I didn't realize that. You had him on the podcast?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Let me tell you, Scott, and anyone watching this, if you want to listen to the best podcast we've ever done, the most chaotic podcast that we've ever done, go to honestly, forgive me to say that you need to put this on the top of your stack of podcasts. I would say you need to go listen to this legitimately as soon as possible, and you will not be disappointed. Here's the premise. Episode 29.
Okay.
March 2014.
Okay.
Live streaming. We did a fantasy baseball draft, fantasy league, with friends of the pod, including Craig Goldstein, including Chris Crawford, and including Lana Berry, of course.
Okay. Yep.
Carlos Rodon was in the league.
Oh, he was in it.
Carlos is in the league. Carlos is on the Skype call during the draft. We recorded a Skype call. Skype, huge loser of the pandemic. Total L. Couldn't keep up with Zoom. That's tough for them.
It's on my work computer just kind of naturally. And every time I reboot, the first thing I do, right click in the system tray, exit.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't use it.
We're on a Skype call, recorded a fantasy baseball draft live. We did the draft, like ESPN draft live. And it is still one of the funniest things I think we've ever done.
Okay.
It is unbelievable. It is so ridiculous. My brother makes an appearance. At this point, he's 13. So that's really funny.
Okay.
They're episode 29, a live fantasy draft, Carlos Rodon.
Okay. I have some homework. All right.
But the reason I bring that out is that what's weird is that, so it stretches from right before we go to school, right after we graduate.
Okay.
But we were doing it so much more consistently in the first 2 years.
Right.
So like we were doing it basically every week. So like the first and then there's only 30 episodes in the last 2 years. There's 70 episodes. Like it goes, it's just very imbalanced.
That's the way college goes. You get more and more wrapped up in your life, and you're in a small town, kind of in the middle of nowhere. I went to Ohio University in Athens, another small town in the middle of nowhere.
Absolutely.
Like they're about 3 or 4 hours apart, but so there's the question, and I know I've probably asked you this around the time because here you are, you're in this you're growing up in DC, and you end up deciding to go to college in small town Ohio. And I wasn't living in Ohio at the time. I grew up obviously in southwestern Ohio in the Cincinnati suburbs, and now I live in Columbus, but we have driven past. I have never actually been to Worcester, although my wife has family in Ashland, and so we've been through there. And I think even the first time we went through, I was like, this guy in my fantasy league went to college here, and my wife's like, okay, great. It's not.
Well, more importantly, Big Poop.
So then you went to Worcester, and I know Big Poop lives up in northern Ohio. I forgot that's where you met him. So how did you end up going to Worcester? I'd like to know.
I have to tell the Big Poop story. I have to, but
absolutely tell the Big Poop story.
but oh my God!
I mean, you probably could have gone. You could have gone to so many different places.
Sure. So basically, it's not that complicated. Basically, I haven't gone to a small private school in high school, small high school. I wanted to go to a small school. I wanted to go to a small liberal arts school where it just wasn't like I just had no interest in going to a big state school. Like from an academics education standpoint, I wanted to go somewhere where I was in a classroom with 20 other people instead of, like I just had no interest in being somewhere where there was 300-person lectures.
Understood.
Wasn't going to do it. Then it was just combining that with, I didn't want to be that close to home. But I didn't want to go to where, I really wanted to go to Colorado College, which is a unique academic experience. I did not get into Colorado College. They're fucking lost.
I've heard of it. I was racking my brain to see if I remembered anything about it, but I don't.
It's in, I guess, is it in Boulder? I don't know, whatever. Doesn't matter now. And then I was like, okay, well, where are there a shit ton of those schools? Pennsylvania, Ohio. I basically just decided, like, I'm just going to go visit a bunch of these, see which one I like the most. It's really that simple. Like, I just didn't want to be near home, and Ohio and Pennsylvania just had a ton. And so I just did a bunch of visits, and Worcester was by far my favorite. And I visited a couple times, and it just, for whatever reason, I really connected with the school, and just the vibe and the size of the town, the size of the school, the academics, like just everything just kind of worked for me. And it was far enough. It was far, but it wasn't unreasonabably far.
What, 6 hours? 7 hours?
Yeah, it's about 6. It's about 6 hour drive. No, I would fly often. At least in the early years before I had a car. But because I had like the shuttle from Cleveland or whatever.
Makes sense.
But yeah, it was just for whatever reason. Like, I visited a bunch. I don't have to go through all the schools I visited, but yeah, like it just worked out. And also, like, I didn't have the best test scores. I had probably slightly above average test scores. So it was going to be harder for me to get into Kenyon or Oberlin or, Swarthmore or whatever anyway.
Wittenberg,
it was a great, right. Yep. So it was just it just worked out. It just worked out. And that's kind of how I picked it. It is random, and it's, but that's pretty much how it worked out. And I am so grateful, and I still have a lot of school pride, honestly, because
that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to a giant suburban high school, which had, well, first of all, how many students does Worcester have? I should have done my research.
1,900.
Okay. So I went to a high school bigger than your college.
Yeah. No, it's totally normal, right? I mean, a lot of the public schools near here.
Three years after I graduated from my high school, it split into 2 high schools. It was so big. And my brother, he graduated from one of the 2, so it was different. But so I went to a giant high school, and so then when I went to visit colleges, I actually visited just as a sample. I was like, let's try visiting one of the small schools. So I visited Baldwin-Wallace. Was that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Very familiar in Berea. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was fine, and it was great and everything. But I remember it was like, this place is tiny. I remember thinking, this place is tiny. Like, this is
Yeah,
just
I
going to
mean,
be
if
like
you're coming, that's the thing. It's
Yeah.
hard for me to really imagine. Right. If it's just not what you know, it's hard to imagine sizing down.
Right. And so then I visited some others. I actually, my one great skill in life is taking standardized tests, which is ironic given what I do for a living. I work for an educational software company that makes tests. Anyway, didn't plan it that way. But was really good at tests. Not really other than that smart, just good at tests. Anyway, my mom's wrinkling up her nose if she hears that, but you can live here. Anyway, so I had some offers and stuff, so that played into it as well. And my parents, of course, really they both went to Ohio University, and they wanted me to visit there because they had all their memories. They met when they were freshmen in 1968, and it was, but I really honestly did like it the best. And so then I actually didn't want to do that. I didn't want to, because then what happened for the next, I was there for 5 years. I got a master's degree and a bachelor's degree. And what happened? My mom and dad visited on every parents' weekend every year.
Of course.
And then, much to my surprise, my brother decides to go to Ohio University also. He's 4 years behind me. So they got to visit. So
it's too strong. The Bobcat vibes are too strong.
My parents, and then my youngest brother actually went there for a time as well. Now he did not finish. He dropped out after a year, but or part of a year. And so they got like 10 straight years of getting to run around their old college town. I mean, have you ever been to Athens?
I haven't. Unfortunately, I have not. And this is.
I thought maybe you guys might have gone for Halloween or something.
No, I know unfortunately, I really did not get, in my 4 years in Ohio, I spent so my girlfriend, who I also, we've been together now since, like you just mentioned, since freshman year of college.
Okay, right.
Her family's from Ada. Do you know where Ada is?
I
okay
probably
if you don't.
It's somewhere in the northern half of the sate. That's all I can tell you.
Northwest, in Hardin County. So it's about up near Lima.
Okay.
And, kind of up near Tiffin, sort of in that direction.
Okay.
But that's a tiny, tiny town. Ohio Northern is there, but like that's a tiny town.
Right.
So I've spent a little bit of time in Columbus, which is closer over there, and there's certainly some time in Cleveland. But no, Athens, I never.
Okay.
And I have not been to Toledo, so like I wish I'd covered more Ohio ground, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're it's big city time now, so I mean.
Well, sort of. Although, let me say, quick aside. I got vaccinated in Ohio.
Uh-oh. Yeah. Well.
because Maryland was taking for fucking ever. And I was like, you know what? My girlfriend lives in Pittsburgh, so I'm there like every month basically. And I was like, you know what? Like Ohio's giving vax to everyone. So I'm just going to go to the easternmost vax site in Ohio, which is beautiful Steubenville across the West Virginia
I was just going to say it was probably either St. Clairsville or Steubenville, right?
Steubenville.
On the
river. Yeah. I'm going back to Steubenville on May 10th to get my second shot. So shouts out to so anyway, so the point is I still have some Ohio pride, but no, I've never been that.
Well, see what happened here with regards to vaccinations in Ohio. They roll them all out and it goes okay. But what happened was all the smaller towns and the more rural areas, only a certain number of those people wanted the vaccine.
Yeah.
The people who live the bigger city suburbanites like myself
exactly
all want the vaccine very badly, right? Very badly. And so like I drove to Urbana to get my first shot.
Yeah.
And then by the time 4 weeks went by, I did this a couple weeks ago. I ended up getting my second one at a Costco here locally. And so then that way I didn't have to drive back out to Urbana, because driving from Columbus to Urbana, like I went through several desiccated shells of towns, and like I drove past my ex-girlfriend from my 20s, her parents' house, Plain City. That was interesting. Well, I haven't talked to these people since 2006. So it was a fun drive, but then I was like, I don't really need to do that again. Let's see if I can do. And so I kind of jockeyed it around, and The Kroger in Urbana is sending me texts like, you need to get your vaccine. And it's like,
no. Well, that's happening here.
Geez.
Now that Maryland has their shit together, they're telling me like, oh, now you can come get it. I'm like, sorry, I'm going back to Steubenville. These people delivered. I don't need to. To
so
again.
I just, I don't know if we're going to get to herd immunity that easily, because I think
Ohio is not doing so hot. I know
a lot of the people who want the vaccine already have it, or they're on their way to having it, and I just don't know if it's going to, I don't know how much farther we're going to get percentage wise. So I don't know.
Anyway, sorry for that detour. I just
no, it was fine.
Ohio obviously still on my mind.
My wife and a bunch of her friends were like, getting everybody that we knew like signed up, getting appointments. We got people appointments in Springfield. We got people appointments at the, all over the place. Zanesville, it's just an excuse to throw out names of Ohio towns. You probably.
Oh, I can do that all day long.
Yeah, right. So
keep it going.
Anyway, all right. So then you're doing the Barbacast all the time through college. Jake is pitching Division III baseball.
Yeah.
You're doing what, communications of some kind?
Yep. Communication studies.
Yeah, communication. Okay. And so then when did it occur to you that you were going to try to get a job for MLB Advanced Media?
It didn't.
It didn't.
When MLB Advanced Media contacted us and was like, do you want a job?
Are you serious?
I am serious.
Wow.
What happened was we had done the road trips for a couple of years. We did, like I said, to Iowa. Then the next year we did to Texas and back, and we wrote about it for BP. That was in 2014.
Okay.
2015.
I do remember some of these in BP.
Yep. 2015, same thing. We did it for BP. We flew to California. We took Chris Crawford's car in San Diego and drove it to Seattle.
Okay.
And then 2016. Yeah. So then after that one, at some point during 2016, during our junior year. Yeah. So I went abroad. I went to Denmark in the fall of 2015 for a semester, and Jake was in London.
Okay.
But the second semester, at the beginning, around then, so early 2016, second half of our junior year, MLB reached out to us and was like, hey, you guys should do this road trip for us. Like, you should do a road trip for MLB. We'll write about it on Cut 4. We're like, okay, fucking
and
duh.
Cut 4 was already a thing at that point.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, it's evolved many times, but yes,
right.
It was.
It's still around, and I thought I saw it the other day.
It's still, well, it exists in social capacity. It is no longer a website.
Okay. Right. Okay.
But at the time, it was a website, and they were making stuff, and so they're trying to build out their content, and we were like, hell yeah. And we were like, well, if we're going to do it for MLB, we got to go big. Right. And so we're like, all right, we're going to drive to San Diego for the All-Star game. That was the pitch. And so we did it. We did. I mean, we were in the car for, 30 days, basically. It took us 2 weeks to get out there. We drove to Maine first.
You went up to Maine and then down to, okay. Wow.
Which is not the most poor route efficiency, as they say. But
MapQuest is
exactly very, very confused about why we're going there. But so we did that, and we were doing, and that's really when, I mean, we had started doing this sort of in the previous few years, but that year especially is when we really started interviewing players a lot, doing videos with them, players with people at games. And really kind of living, especially minor league stuff, right? It was mostly minor league stuff, building up to the Futures game and the All-Star game. Great. So yeah, we did that, and we were there did the whole thing, did it for MLB, and then basically we did a little bit of freelance stuff for Cut 4. That next year, like end of 16 season, I guess not really, because then by the end of it, we just did the trip. But then the beginning of the 17th season, before we graduated, but yeah. And assume they were just like, yeah, like when you graduate, like you should just move to New York and come work for us. And we're like, okay. And so we
such an easier time of it.
We were like, yeah. Trust me, I am very, very aware that we lucked into so much. We did not. It was no interview. It was just like we had built this thing and they liked what it was and they thought we were good at what we were doing and we had proven it and they just didn't. They were like, look, I mean, we like these guys and let's see what they can do. And so,
I mean, there's always an element of time and place to everything. I mean, they were just at a point where they were looking for, I pardon the term, I'm sure you hear it constantly, millennial content. You know?
Oh, dude, 100%.
By and for,
because we were,
and
this is the thing. It's like, were we doing anything revolutionary? No. Were we doing it slightly before there was a lot of people doing it my age or around my age? Mm-hmm. Arguably, yes. Right. Yeah. We didn't we weren't, it was not some crazy they had notion that it was like, wow, Jake and Jordan, oh, you guys do the fun side of baseball. Like, yeah, fucking what? It's not new. It's not hard to figure out.
Baseball
right?
is supposed to be fun.
Yeah. Like, it's like but again, like that element.
What else is there?
That's the thing. It's like
from a fan perspective.
We didn't come up with that shit, right? Like that's not what we did. Now, what did we do? What did we do? We did connect with players. We did give kind of a proof of concept of like, this is the kind of content you can make with players that they will buy into. That's not boring.
Right. It's not being interviewed and asked questions.
Exactly. And so that is something that I do think we were kind of proving at a very early stage. And I think that helped us a lot, and I think that we're good at what we do. But
You're allowed to think that.
Well, and in some sense that it was just like the combination of all of our experiences, gave us a level of credibility that helped us a lot when we would go to different places because and Jake makes this point all the time, but it's so true. Like if you can talk about Clinton, Iowa, like that goes a long way. Like you think that sounds like a dorky, reference to something in the minor leagues, only some people, but like if you bring that to a player that played the Midwest League, they know what you're talking about. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really been the secret sauce is just like, you got to combine the attitude and the wanting to promote the fun stuff, which, like I said, not rocket science. Like anyone can figure that out. We can all be like, wow, look at that bat flip. Yeah, duh, right? Of course. Like that's not okay, cool. That's not why we read, but it's like if you can also have the knowledge, have the background, have the curiosity, have the interest, have the drive to keep learning more, to keep wanting to share that. That's what I strive to do every day, whether it's in what I'm actually working on or not. That's really what it is. And I think that just through the road trips and through everything we did in college and through the podcast and all the guests we had and all the people we talked to, all the connections we made, that's what really set us up for the kind of success that I think we had in the early going. But to your point, though, so much right place, right time, so much luck, so much just like, not that we didn't work hard, not that we didn't do
I wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah. To do things to put ourselves in a good position. I mean, we're super duper freaking lucky.
Yeah, well, I mean, so you're at MLB Advanced Media for a couple of years, something like that, a couple of years, and then you end up. I mean, I wasn't going to try to dive into the weeds of it, but at some point, MLB Advanced Media did a whole lot of restructuring. Am I right?
Yeah.
Is that a fair way to put it? I think they were they spun off into an independent company. Were those two things at the same time, or were they spun off first and then they reorganized, something like that?
So yes, but I can say up front, none of that really had anything to do with us or impacted us.
Oh, okay.
So it's not really relevant to try to get into right now because one, I don't remember the details, and two, didn't really impact us directly. That's not what really affected us. So we were there. We 2017, we got there June, whatever. We started, did the rest of that season. All of 2018, we were doing stuff at Cut 4. We were doing the watch parties. We did the 7.5 hour game in Game 3 of the World Series in 2018. We did a watch party for that by accident, right? We were not intending to do the live stream for a game that went 7 hours, but we did. But that was huge. I mean, that was a very important moment for us, I would say. But so we did that, and then basically after the 2018 season, I guess I'm jumping ahead. I don't know what your next question was.
No, I'm just trying to cover the progression of how, because
sure. Okay. So yeah, so then I can cover that here. So basically end of 2018, we were just like, we weren't really moving up at all in the MLB world. Like, it was very fun to work there. Obviously, it was a cool job and cool to live in New York, but like, we didn't feel like they were really investing in us, any more than just like Jake and Jordan are around and they'll produce content and that'll be that, right? We're not really, it's not about them. It's just like essentially they start to view us as just like, oh, that they just happen to work to us as content creators. They were not viewing us as like this package duo that was like something that is like comes together, is unique, is kind of performing stuff together. It was just like, oh, Jake is an employee, Jordan is an employee, they both work here together. We were like, okay, well, we didn't get here doing stuff individually,
Right.
We're both good at what we're doing individually, but like, we want to do stuff. We want to do more. We want to kind of do that together.
Yeah. You want to have yeah. Listen, I understand this. I've had the exact same job for almost 16 years. So I understand what it's like to feel like you're being typecast a little bit. So don't worry.
But at the same time, it was like, why are we getting greedy? This is ridiculous. We're so lucky to have gotten to where we are. Yeah. But we weren't the only people feeling this way. Other people around us were like, look, dumbasses, like, you got to go figure your shit out and go, like, you have more to offer than what they're allowing you to do. Yeah, that's basically what it came down to. And so through the magic of a few happy, wonderful connections, we got an agent.
Okay.
That's what happened. So in 2018, we got connected with an agent, and agent, I guess multiple, but basically one. And they started, obviously looking around for us and other things that were out there. And that's how we got the show on DAZN. That's how we got Change Up on DAZN. DAZN was just put a shit ton of money into MLB because DAZN was trying to get because they're mostly boxing, and they were trying to get other sports going to the 2019 season, trying to get other sports onto their platform to grow their platform. Because they're huge in Europe and huge in Japan, but in the US, it was basically just boxing. They were trying to get more. So they gave a ton of money to MLB. They wanted to start the show called Change Up. They had us come audition. They got us and our agents got us audition with this. And then boom, we get it. We get the weekend gig. So we're doing the Saturday and Sunday shows on DAZN. It was every day, but we did the Saturday and Sunday shows. We were still doing stuff at Cut 4 during the week, occasionally doing some video shoots like Yankee Stadium and stuff. And so we did that. And like the DAZN show, even though nobody watched because nobody has DAZN, nobody was subscribing, was a freaking dream. Like, we will never have more fun than we've done that show because we just hosted a whip around show and did whatever we want. Like, they literally listed it, and we were filming it at MLB Network. So like, we essentially worked at MLB Network, going to Secaucus every week for a whole season.
Okay.
And like, I mean, what more? Like, I got to play wiffle ball in Studio 42 whenever I wanted. Like, what? I mean, is honestly, like, what the hell else could I possibly want, right?
Right. And I remember this existing, and I remember thinking, how in the world am I ever going to watch this? And
and we knew, right? There was so much because it was expensive, and it was just a new platform, and it was like, okay, but the idea, the 19th season, it was like, okay, well, this is basically the first, like, basically a trial run year. Like, we'll just see how it goes. Let's just build it out, and we'll kind of build towards 2020 to kind of grow it more in different ways. And I don't know if you saw, but there was a pandemic, so.
Something about that, yeah.
So that happened. So basically, though,
spent a lot of time in this room over the last year.
There you go. So fast forwarding to the 19th. So that was great. That was fun. Then basically going into the 2020 season, we were like, we want a podcast again. Like, why the hell are we not podcasting? This is ridiculous. That's how we ended up with The Ringer again, thanks to our wonderful agents.
Yeah.
So we did that. We basically agreed to all the Ringer stuff, and we're going to announce it the week that baseball shut down. So like, we had an
March
email,
of 20.
March of 20. Yes, it was like March 10. Was while I was in Florida. It was my birthday. March 11th, whatever Rudy Gobert Day was. Basically, we were going to announce it. Like, we were going to say baseball barbecue on the Ringer. And like, overnight, they had said like, hey, like, this Gobert thing's a little dicey. Like, we're going to hold off and see what happens. Boom, everything shuts down. Boom, we're not announcing your podcast. And then it was 2 months before we got to say anything. So in that time, basically, super duper long story short, we were planning on doing DAZN again. We were all locked in to go. We were going to be going to do it on weekdays. I was going to move to New Jersey. We were going to be at MLB Network all the time. And then obviously it disintegrated. The show didn't happen. The show no longer exists. we are out, no more DAZN, right?
Yeah.
Ringer goes, we do Ringer, great, fun, wonderful. But then at the end of last year, it was like, well, we want to do more than this. This is not a podcast twice a week is not enough for us. Like we have more ideas than a podcast than twice a week. So boom, now we work out, and now here we are at Fox Sports MLB. So that is
and
the general
you have
timeline.
started doing that, or you're about to start? I think you probably would have already started, right?
Yeah, we started. Yep, we've done just a few weeks. I mean, we've only been doing
I knew it hasn't
a couple
been very
things
long.
a week. Yep, video stuff has not begun yet, but we have been writing basically every week. So that's been really fun.
Yeah, I was I've been a pretty big fan of the Ringer for a while. I mean, going back to when it was Grantland.
Of course.
And actually, I have a friend who lives here in Columbus, who I went to OU with, who is one of the music writers for the Ringer.
Oh, nice. That's awesome.
Rob Harvilla, if you've.
Oh yeah, of course.
He's a great guy. We were actually just talking a couple months ago. He got me free tickets to a concert, and we went in downtown Columbus, like February of 2020. That was my last concert for over a year. I actually just went to a concert last week, a properly socially distanced one, and that had been my first one in over a year. And my wife and I got her parents to come over to take care of the kids, and we're doing this. And it was a little weird, but it was it felt like some return to normalcy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but Rob and I both worked at the radio station at OU, and he just this is what he just kept doing it, kind of like and he had worked at all sorts of places. He worked at Spin, he worked at Rhapsody. He worked at, and he was the editor of the Village Voice also. I mean, the Village Voice is actually, I think the Village Voice is supposedly coming back, but it was, around for a long time and then it shut down. And so he's had a very interesting career. And so I would follow the Ringer anyway. And it was like, the only podcast I think I listened to on the Ringer before the Baseball Barbecue was I listened to the Game of Thrones one a little bit. That one where these people, these unbelievably knowledgeable people who sound like they honestly, and I don't mean to put anybody down, but they seriously sound like they were doing a big pile of Coke. They're just so hyped up that it was like, where else is this coming from? So excited about, but it was fascinating. Like especially the one guy, like on that show, just they knew everything.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, the people but that's what. In some ways, that you could say that's a kind of a through line to a lot of the Ringer stuff, but it's just like
the sort of deeper,
obsessive,
So in that sense,
I think we fit that too.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I would say just listening, and I don't listen to every single episode of your show, honestly, but I listen to some of them, and I think what really comes through the most is that it sounds like you're having fun. Which is really important. You want people to listen, especially, unless it's depending on the show format, I mean, if you're doing a true crime podcast, maybe you don't want people having too much fun.
Don't have too much fun.
but and it's obvious that both of you know a ton about baseball and you've been huge fans your whole lives. And so, it's like, it just comes through. It's obvious. You couldn't hide it if you tried,
That's look, man, then we're succeeding. Yeah. That is most important.
So anyway, I know we've spent a lot of this conversation talking about your career, but it's very, it's just fascinating, to see how this has played out.
And for sure.
I mean, some of us have, I mean, I've had 2 jobs in my professional life, and, it's a, but I grew up wanting to be a sportscaster, and I wanted to be a sportscaster and I wanted to be on Saturday Night Live, like maybe at the same time, and also general manager of the Cincinnati Reds. But, that was
big dreams, baby. I love it.
Big dreams. So, I mean, it never, and then you get to college and it's like, boy, I need to do something that's going to pay the bills. And
yeah, your priorities change real quick.
And I love what I do, but it's really great, because I didn't necessarily try to follow professionally, and I'm not suggesting that you should or shouldn't. There are advantages and disadvantages to both. That you shouldn't try to follow and do for a living, something that you love. I think there's advantages and disadvantages to that. I mean, if I what if I just, what if I got into it and I was like, wow, I actually don't want to do this anymore and I hate baseball, and how did this happen? I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe it's it's the fox and the grapes. Those are probably sour anyway. I don't know, but it's just fascinating to watch someone do this and make a go of it, and do pretty darn well.
Yeah, man. I mean,
interesting to watch.
Yeah, that's people ask, oh, what was the plan? Oh, what would you have done if you hadn't? Like, I don't know, man. I got no idea what we would have done. I don't know how we ended up here in the first place. Like,
yeah,
we just outlined that, but it's just like,
yeah.
I don't know.
I wanted to know. That's why I asked you.
Yeah, no, but it's like, right. I don't know what I would have done instead. Like, but it's stupid because, like, okay, so when you ask baseball players that, what would you do if you weren't a baseball player? They'll tell you, I have no idea, because baseball is the only thing. That's the only thing.
I'm sure some of them would say that. Absolutely.
Right. That's the only thing I could do. I can only do baseball. Right. It's like, I don't think that's true for me. But it's like well, I am glad that I have made this. I'm very lucky to have made the hobby into the job.
So did you ever have a baseball player give you a really interesting answer to that question, or some version of that question? Like, I remember reading one time, it just popped into my head because his bobblehead's up on the shelf right above my head. Where one time I saw a thing where Greg Oden, former #1 NBA draft pick, I lasted 82 games for my Portland Trailblazers.
I am well aware. My girlfriend, huge Ohio State basketball fan, so Greg Oden is a constant topic of discussion.
He said he wanted to be a dentist. Like
Francisco Lindor said the same thing.
A 7-foot basketball player with
you'd be the world's tallest dentist.
Yeah. So I actually went back and checked a couple of years ago, like, what did Greg Oden do after he was done playing basketball? I fully expected to find that he was in dental school. And maybe it's just entertaining to me because I happen to be the son of a dentist. I don't know.
But there you go.
And no, he actually went back to Ohio State for sports management. So I guess you're doing what you know. But anyway, so did a player ever give you a really great answer, like I would have been some version, like a dentist or some other sort of?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
That's a good question. I don't know if that's one that we've really asked that many guys, so nothing really comes to mind in particular, to be honest. Yeah.
Every now and then that comes up when I Jim Day, one of the Reds broadcasters, has a podcast.
Love Jim Day. I've listened to that podcast. It's great.
Yeah, and it's fun. I was actually just listening to an episode yesterday, mowing the lawn, and there was one with Rob Dibble. Rob Dibble, very colorful personality of my baseball youth. They covered all the funny things that Rob Dibble did in his career, and he talked about at one point how he was going to quit baseball and be a cop. And of course Rob Dibble's now a broadcaster. I mean, but
right.
But it's hard to imagine. Some of these people doing other things.
It's impossible.
I don't know. So anyway, I did want to ask you, this is a great jumping off point for this question. So, I mean, in all the stuff you've done with players over the last few years, is there one bit, obviously the Carlos Rodon one, that I need to go listen to in episode 29 of the Barbacast, you said?
So 29.
Okay.
I'll never forget it.
Any other all-time great, maybe it was just fun to do, or maybe the player or players were just the coolest ever. Best segments you did with players. I want to hear. Tell me another one.
Just from the Barbacast, or in general?
Or just in general, any of the stuff you might have done with Cut 4 or whatever. Like just one that stands out. It doesn't have to be the best.
Yeah.
We're not doing Casey's top 40 here.
Well, no, I know, but I gotta say, something that's really jarring now is watching baseball and being like, oh, we did something with him. Oh, we did something with him. Oh, we did something with him. And that's a range of, he was on the Barbacast when we were in college, to, oh, we talked to Fernando Tatis Jr. for 2 minutes of the Futures game. Right. But that all counts, right? Like talking about like everyone, like even Jake has asked Mike Trout a question at All-Star Media Day.
Okay. Yeah.
So like the range of is just like, holy shit. Like the fact that we've been able to come into contact and make stuff with guys is just with this many players, and we have a connection to this many players is staggering, because
Absolutely.
when we started it was like, this is the thing. Carlos was one of the first.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we became friends with him before he was even drafted, it was like, oh my God, Carlos, oh my God, this is crazy. Everything he did was like this huge deal. And now we're like so normalized to it. And that's so stupid. Like it shouldn't mean we should never take it for granted. Right. But that doesn't mean there aren't still ones that stand out, and there aren't still interactions that stand out as the best. I would say the one that I bring up all the time is the mini home run derby we did with Rafael Devers when he was with High A Salem. That was in 2016 when we were on a road trip going through Carolina League, Salem, Virginia. They have a mini Fenway Park down the left field line in Salem. And we would, this is when Rafi Devers is 18, 19, and has braces.
He came to the big leagues really young, right?
So but this is when, and he doesn't know any English, but we were just like, look, man, like, he's your best player. Like, all we need him to do is come out and just hit these wiffle balls with us. And and then wonderful media people and say, I'm like, sure, because in the minors, they don't care. They'll do whatever you want. Rafi was like, great. He had a blast. He had a great time, because it was like, like something different in my day. I get to go hit wiffle balls with these stupid kids. And this,
I can put down my peanut butter and jelly sandwich that the club provided me and go.
Exactly. So I think that was, that's just, and just because he's become one of my favorite players in the game. Like, that is a memory I cherish all the time. And that video is amazing. So I would encourage that. You should check that out.
Okay.
Okay.
I was going to ask you about the origins of your baseball fandom, although you kind of gave them to me in the process, that you became a fan of the Mariners by reading a blog. That's very postmodern of you. For the Mariners. Because, it's, again, you're all the way across the country from, Mariner Nation, which, the Mariners consider themselves to be lords of a pretty large geographic area. I know this living in, I lived in Portland for 10 years, and they had a billboard in the middle of downtown Portland about how you're basically supposed to get drunk and ride the bus up to Seattle and back to see the Mariners lose, and then, come back. And I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just, they haven't been all that terribly great in the last 10 years.
Super fair.
Now Portland is trying to get their own team. They have something called the Portland Diamond Project. For some reason, Russell Wilson is attached to it.
Who is the former major leaguer that's very attached to it?
That's attached to the Portland Diamond Project?
Yes, extremely involved.
I don't remember a specific.
I want to say it's not like it's like a recent, like he played recently. Portland Diamond Project. Because I know that he's been pumping it. I don't know if it's like a Portland guy that grew up in Portland, but
the thing is, and so I've read, Seattle will never let Portland get a team because they consider Portland part of their territory. But actually, what's more likely is, having lived in Portland, I can tell you that the people of Portland will never, ever, ever give a Major League Baseball team tax dollars, ever.
Oh yeah, no chance. That's like an easy, good luck.
When the Rays were considering moving, I think it was the Rays, in the mid-2000s, they visited Portland, and the mayor was like, hey, great to see you. We'd love to have you. Don't even ask us for a penny. And that was the end of that. I think it was the Rays. It might have been Oakland. I can't remember. It was one of the teams was visited who was considering moving. And those are the two teams, right? Ever since the Expos moved to Washington, the two teams that are always rumored to be moving are Tampa and Oakland.
In Oakland, yeah.
Because of stadiums. Now, Tampa's getting a stadium. Oakland, who knows? So
I don't think either of them are that close to getting a stadium.
I thought Tampa had it. They have a plan, and
Oakland has a plan. Again, also probably super duper far away, but anyway. Darwin Barney.
Oh, Darwin Barney, right? Or former Oregon State.
Former Oregon State. I'm pretty sure Darwin Barney is involved.
I remember walking through downtown Portland and walking past the Nike Town store. Nike, based in, not in Portland, it's based in the suburbs to the west. And there in the window of Nike Town is a picture of Darwin Barney in his Oregon State uniform. That was right after Oregon State had won the college baseball title. And I don't remember what. I'm sure you probably are more likely to know what year that was than I do, but it was maybe 2009.
18.
Oh,
The first time. I'm thinking more recently.
I didn't even know they won it again. I haven't been following.
With Kevin Abel. Yeah.
And then Darwin Barney was his big star. He gets to the big leagues, and he's kind of, I mean, he played, but he's like a utility.
They won in 18, and then 06 is the year.
06, that's what it was.
Or 06 and 07, back to back.
There you go.
Yeah, they were a juggernaut.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, okay, so
I've been there, by the way. I've been to Corvallis. That was a road trip stop in 15.
Oh,
we
cool.
did. See, this is a great example. So we went there, and because we were friends with Andrew Moore, who was like their ace pitcher.
Okay.
Before he got drafted by the Mariners, and now he's bounced around. He made the majors, and he's bounced around now. He's with like the Tigers at their alt site.
Okay.
But we went and did a bunch of bat flips on the Oregon State baseball field, and did a video. That's on our YouTube channel, which exists for some reason still.
Just
you could find out, but he's
Nothing's
not
ever...
in the video. If you look up like Corvallis bat flips, Cespedes BBQ, you can go watch this. I don't think he's in the video, but we definitely met Drew Rasmussen, who is now a Brewers reliever, a very good Brewers reliever. He was there. So I will always remember that. So there you go.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever I don't think I've ever been to Corvallis. I mean, that's about an hour and a half away from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, but I
stopped there.
Yeah.
He stopped in Portland too, obviously.
It was weird because there's actually, I mean, Portland's got to be the ratio of baseball to people in that city has got to be at an all-time low. I mean, they had a AAA team that left in 2009 or 10. And then that stadium was taken over by the soccer team, the Timbers.
Yeah, of course.
And now they have are short season. They have a short season team, the Hillsborough Hops. And they were actually trying to get one. Actually, it would have been really neat. Hillsborough's on the west side of town. They were trying to get one for the east side of town too, so then they could be like these crosstown rival short season teams. And the people on the east side were like, hell no, you're not going to bring these huge crowds of 2,000 people or whatever it is into our neighborhood and, throw beer cups everywhere and whatever. So the east side team didn't happen. It was going to be in Milwaukee, which is it's spelled differently.
Well, and now Hillsborough is a full season team, which is the craziest.
Right. It got moved up because people liked it. And I mean, that's the western suburbs. It's a good half an hour outside of town, but so I don't know. And the hops, the logo is kind of cool and stuff. And so, but man, I'll tell you as I've always followed the minor leagues for the last 15 or 20 years, I used to write recaps of Reds minor league games for.
Love that.
There's a Reds message board out there, Red Zone, that I've been a member of for 20 years, and I don't post there very much anymore. But I used to write up these things and, what? Red Zone.
Did the Jay Bruce retirement make you feel old?
A little bit, because Jay Bruce was, he was this. He wasn't that well known when the Reds drafted. He kind of had some draft helium. They pick him, and it's like they picked this guy, and this seems risky, and I mean, he was.
Jay Bruce probably aesthetically one of the least pleasing players to ever watch, but awesome dude, awesome career. Happy for him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just weird how some of these players go out. I mean, Ken Griffey Jr. went out in a very and he didn't even announce his retirement. If you remember, Ken Griffey Jr. went out in a very anticlimactic way by getting DFA'd because right after he fell asleep in the clubhouse.
And then he went to the White Sox.
Oh,
that's you mean with the White Sox, right? That was with the White Sox.
No, I think it was. Oh well, I don't.
I thought he fell asleep with the Reds and then went to the White Sox.
No.
Maybe
the Reds traded him to the White Sox.
Yeah.
In the middle of the season.
Yes.
And then he finished the year with the White Sox, and then I thought he went back to the Mariners. Am I wrong?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
And then he fell asleep.
Yes, he did.
He was a part-time player, though. He's like 40. He was a part-time player.
Correct.
And, so let me tell you a fun Ken Griffey Jr. story, and then we'll wrap this up. And you can complain about the league's rules, which is something I want to give everybody a chance to do publicly. Do you have any rule complaints?
No, I'm good, man. I'm content.
All right. You'll vote. All you have to do is vote. I don't even care how you vote. Whenever we have a vote, just vote.
I can do that.
I mean, some people in our league, as you know, people like Justin, they really want to change the rules. And I am sort of really, I have generally calcified behind the rules that we have. And he's actually sort of convinced me a little bit in some cases, if you've seen it.
I mean, there have been
so I think we may change some rules. But ultimately that stuff doesn't matter that much, as long as it's really just a clarity issue. Like, I'm just get tired of being the explainer all the time. I just don't want to. Okay.
Oh yeah. But
All right. Ken Griffey Jr. story you will appreciate.
Hit me.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, there's going to be a couple details missing, but I have the guts of it right. So when I was in high school, I worked at a pizza place in Westchester, in my hometown, north of Cincinnati. And I worked at a Donato's Pizza. Donato's Pizza is an Ohio chain.
Oh, I know Donato's.
Do you have Donato's Pizza in Worcester? They do the what? Oh,
sorry. No, you're fine.
Okay. They do the tavern style cut pizza where it's cut into the checkerboard style. Yeah. Okay. And they do the tavern style pizza. I mean, Central Ohio doesn't have a lot of food traditions. This is the closest thing they have to one, is the tavern style pizza with the little squares, right?
Yes.
That's the thing. I mean, most other Ohio food traditions are coming from Cincinnati or Cleveland, right? The chili and et cetera, all that stuff.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Columbus's culture is kind of the baseline for America, right? So, if you know what I mean. So, I'm working at Donato's Pizza, and the Griffey family, I believe it was Griffey Sr. and his wife. They lived in Westchester, I think. My brother may end up correcting me on this front. And they lived in a pretty, I mean, it was nice. It's nice. It's a middle class subdivision right next to where I went to junior high school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And they lived there. Why, I don't know, but they did. And so Ken Jr., was, he was drafted out of high school and was in the big leagues when he was 19. So he lived at home, for a while after he became a big leaguer. And of course he didn't get, obviously he'd been paid a huge bonus, but I mean, he didn't start making huge amounts of money right away. I mean, that was probably when the major league minimum was $62,500.
Right.
So, but I mean, I'm working at Donato's Pizza. I mean, if I did the math on the ages, it's probably like 93, 94. So he's been in the big leagues for a couple of years, and apparently he still lived there, at least, or was there a lot. And I'm assuming this is the off season. And so the Griffeys would order pizza from our pizzeria. And so I wasn't a delivery driver at the time. I was too young. I was only 17. I later was a delivery driver, got in an accident, had to quit delivery driving. Not a bad accident, just a stupid.
Damn.
Well, I was wearing a Walkman while I was driving, which you don't want to do that. I hid the Walkman in a pizza bag so that I wouldn't get in trouble when the cop came up. He didn't see it. Sorry. So anyway, sorry, cops. Anyway, I was a rebel, man. Anyway, so
Clearly.
And one of our delivery drivers claimed they had taken the pizza to the Griffey house and gotten an autograph because Junior was there taking in the pizza and he knew who he was, and so then it became, everybody for a while there, everybody was watching the orders come in. It's like, did the Griffeys order again? And it was like, because not everybody was a baseball fan, but they knew enough to know that a Ken Griffey Jr. autograph is probably worth some money. And it's like, and I'm just thinking, like, he lives there still? I mean, he's like 20, I mean, I don't know.
Can he go get his own? No, but he's I'm not.
I don't know.
It doesn't shock me considering
I don't know how long they lived there. And I don't know Senior was, obviously when Junior came up, Senior was also on the Mariners, right? For a time. So they were actually they were father and son on the same team for maybe a year or 2 years.
Right.
This would have been after that. A junior or senior would have been retired. It would have been he was a coach. I think I know he worked for the Reds for a while. I don't know what his coaching career has been. But anyway, so it became kind of a battle / myth / I don't want to say urban legend, because I'm not certain that it's possible. For example, our driver didn't know, he could have given the pizza to Ken's brother, Craig, who was drafted, I believe, but was not, he didn't get out of the minor.
Not quite the same.
Craig.
Not quite the same.
And, so anyway, there you go.
That's a great story. Wow.
The Griffeys are doing
were still ordering Donato's, and why were they living there in the first place?
And why were they living in a subdivision called Dutchland Woods? I don't know. Dutchland Woods, I mean, it's still there. It was built in the 70s.
Hey man, some people.
It's not entirely unlike where I live now.
Sure,
I live in a house built in 1978 or so, and we're like the third or fourth family to live here, and we'll sell it to some other family when we're done. And it's these things go on, and why they would choose there, I don't know. I don't know what was all that exciting about it, other than I guess it was out of the way.
That's one perk, I suppose.
Later on, when I was a delivery driver, they built some like kind of apartment / townhomes like right next to it, and you never wanted to deliver pizza in there because it was very poorly lit, and I don't think anybody thought they were going to get robbed, but it was very hard to see what was going on, and there were very tiny numbers on the doors, and I was like, oh God, I don't want to have to go over there, but
such is life, but some people were lucky enough to. Yeah, I would hope
they moved on. Their pizzeria habits had moved on.
Pretty sure they're down in Florida now.
When I was in college, then I worked at Pizza Hut because my dad was like, "Listen, you can't be doing this. If you don't have insurance on your car," it was kind of like what Uber and Lyft drivers have to deal with now. If you don't have insurance on your car, you're going to hit somebody because you're you, and I'm going to lose my entire dental practice.
I'm screwed. Right, that makes more sense.
Living shit out of me. Yeah. So I had to go to Pizza Hut because there's a big giant corporation and they had insurance. So there you go.
Donato's not as fortunate.
And the Griffeys apparently were not fans of Pizza Hut. So.
Wow, they were
anyway.
Specific. They were Donato's only fan.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah. So obviously we've covered all the ways that your life has changed in the last 9 years, and we hope I've speculated about this with some of the other folks. How long is this going to go? Nobody knows. I mean, I've only been commissioner for a year plus, but here I am talking about expansion again. After we want to try to get some more people. And you already said Jake's not coming back. I understand.
No chance.
Yeah, it's okay.
He's way out. He has no interest in fantasy at all.
So, but we may ask people to dip into their networks. I mean, here I am. I got my friend from college. I got my brother. I'm starting to run out of people who are dedicated enough to the game.
Yeah, I think. It's not like I couldn't. For me, it's more of a challenge of like, how would I even narrow it down to one? I don't know. Here's the other thing. A grand thought about fantasy baseball. I play fantasy baseball. I love this league. I'm in a few other super dorky, deep leagues, whatever.
I'm in one other one, that you pay for.
So, but I have zero interest in fantasy baseball content.
Yeah, me neither. I don't read
zero. None. But the reason I bring that up is because there are a lot of people who are very into fantasy and are very into the fantasy baseball community, right?
Yes, right.
It's a very, very, that's like, in some of these websites that have come up, like obviously that are full to people freaking love it, right? And this is not
absolutely
baseball, football, right?
I mean, you see in every chat on Fangraphs.
Every chat on Fangraphs, people just asking about fantasy. Exactly, right?
But the non-fantasy ones, they're asking fantasy questions.
Exactly.
And so poor people like Kevin Goldstein, who are not fantasy baseball people.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
Keith Law,
but I think there's the people like Kevin, I don't blame him, and Jake, who are just like, I don't give a shit about fantasy baseball. I couldn't even. I totally respect that. Again, I love playing in all these dorky leagues that have been going on forever, but I don't read any, so that's the thing. So I don't have a pool of people that I know that love fantasy baseball. That's not.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard. I mean, hey, I got Kreiser in here. So
that's right.
I did. I got at least one to my name here.
Yeah.
So.
And I realized I don't know the first thing about him. So when I interview him, hopefully
he's awesome. I love Kreiser. Super nice guy.
Won't know. I mean,
you'll know nothing. No, that'll be great.
There's a couple other people in the league who I really don't.
Of course.
know.
Oh, dude. Of course. Especially
I actually can't wait to talk to those people.
Here's. I mean, again, we could talk about these things all night long, but I do kind of want to watch the end of the Dodgers game. How many people are left from the beginning?
I counted them up. There are 8, if you can believe it.
So there's 14 in the league, right?
Yes, there were 16
14
originally.
14 teams.
Right.
So it's 15 with the co-owners, right?
Yeah, there were 16 teams originally. We contracted down 2 teams, Willamette Valley and what was the other one?
Brady's team?
No,
we gave him to someone else. I don't know who else did we get
there was
rid of?
another team that where we did away with Somerville. No, Somerville I think was something else.
Oh my God!
Anyway,
this is crazy that you even have. I know you have also for Somerville.
We contracted down. We put all those players in free agency, and now we want to try to expand it back out to 2. I mean, I think you could expand by 1 team, but then nobody.
No, 16. We want to get 2.
You wouldn't feel the burn. You know what I mean? Like you would like
who
do I protect? You know,
I
mean, you're going to be the Rockies. You're going to take David Need from the Braves, and you're going to be like, all right, we're going to win the pennant in our first year, and then David Need barely gets on the mound. You know. And the Marlins taking Nigel Wilson, same problem. I mean, like I want to have a Nigel Wilson and David Need kind of moment, right? And I can't remember who Arizona and Tampa Bay.
Can I say my dream job is working for the expansion team for the expansion draft whenever it happens.
Yeah.
That sounds like the most fun thing in the world.
Yeah, you're going to have a scene like in Moneyball where they're all sitting in the room and they've got a big board and they're,
I mean, look, draft stuff in general is like my shit, and I spend all my time doing it. All my free time, not doing baseball for a living, I spend doing baseball not for a living. And draft stuff is one of it, but
sure,
expansion would be a whole
limited
thing.
audience.
Okay, so there's 8. There's 8.
8.
So okay,
you got Crash.
Me, hold on.
Okay,
me, you.
Crash.
Juan.
Juan. You got John, Jeff and John.
Jeff and John.
Yeah. That's how many? 6?
6.
Shoot.
Oh, Big Poop.
Yep, 7. You never talked about Big Poop.
Okay, can I tell the Big Poop story and then we can be done?
Okay, yeah, right. Okay, let's figure out the last one and then you talk about Big Poop because we're going to have Big Poop on the show hopefully someday. So,
dude,
there's somebody else.
Oh, Nathan Warren.
And Nathan Warren from Australia.
Mr. Geelong.
I can't wait to talk to him too.
Geelong, sorry.
Yeah, it's actually Gaylong, if you can believe it.
No, it's not.
I believe it is.
No, you're full of shit. I think we're both wrong.
All right. Well,
we'll have to
I will ask him and I will make him say it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, please.
And I will try to avoid Crocodile Dundee jokes and I will see what happens.
Yeah,
and
again, like remember when we had Matt?
Yeah,
from England?
From the UK. Then Loughborough became Chicago.
Right.
My friend Drew from college, yeah. So
right.
that will be a fun episode. I've known him since we were 18. So
amazing.
We were working at the radio station.
Which one is which one is that?
Chicago now. I mean, it was Loughborough. That was Matt Eva's team. Matt Eva from Britain.
And who owns it now? Sorry,
Drew.
Oh, Drew.
Yeah, Chicago. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, Big Poop story, then we'll be done.
Okay, Big Poop. Big Poop, the owner of, the team was called the Worcester Big Poops. Now they're called, which I keep wanting him to say Dominican Republic, but he insists on just calling them the Dominican La Caca Grande. It's just fun to say, man. And so it's like, the Dominican Republic. No, Dominican. It's like, I don't know what that is. Anyway.
All right, so here's the thing.
He doesn't respect their sovereignty. Go ahead.
Andrew Phillips.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why he is the Big Poops?
I do not know.
Oh my God.
I mean, obviously it's his nickname.
Okay. All right. So why is it his nickname? Now I can't actually tell you why it's his nickname, but
I mean, you can tell me you tell me a PG-13 /
No. I can't because I don't know how he came up with going by Big Poop. But
okay.
He emailed the Barbacast in the very early stages.
Okay. I think I remember that he did this. Is this how you got to know him?
Yes. So he emailed the Barbacast.
Okay. It was like
very early on.
Like a super fan of the show.
Like within the first 10 episodes or so.
Okay.
And the email account was the original Big Poop Monster @gmail.com. Okay.
Yeah.
OBP. Original Big Poop.
He got on that one early, probably.
Yes. They didn't have to add any numbers.
Okay.
Original Big Poop. That's what he went by. And he said his name is Andrew, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. But this started, so he would just email us all the time. Mm-hmm. We called him OBP, Original Big Poop.
Did he go to Worcester
No, so he's like 10 years older than me.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a little bit less than that. No, I think that's about right.
I thought he was your classmate or something.
No. So he, at the time, the first time he emailed us, he said, original Big Poop, Andrew, whatever, from Apple Creek, Ohio.
Okay.
At the time, I was like, okay, whatever. And then I looked it up. I was like, holy shit, Apple Creek is like the next town over from Worcester.
Okay.
And then I was like, what are the chances that this weirdo original Big Poop monster is emailing our fucking podcast? Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And so but then I was like, wow. Then we connected, I think, on Facebook at some point. So he would email all the time. He sent in these crazy, like, fan fiction type stories about baseball players. They were all the way over the top, often like very like kind of overly sensual stories about like Jose Fernandez, rest in peace. But amazing stuff. Like, truly
not every
hilarious.
bit of content you make is ever gonna hold up and feel right after the fact.
Yes, but it was like some poetry, like some fucking hilarious, incredible stuff.
Okay.
Big Poop, great. I know he lives in Worcester. So then we connected on Facebook, and he just lived in Worcester. He happened to live there. Yeah. He moved to Worcester from Apple Creek, whatever. So he lived there, right? Now, fast forward, freshman year. So we had messaged, and I just to connect with him, just been like on Facebook and be like, oh, what's up?
Yeah.
Freshman year, second semester, it's snowing like fucking crazy.
Right, because it's Northern Ohio. That's
Northern Ohio. Me and my girlfriend go to the movies. We see the Lego movie. Love the Lego movie.
Yep.
We come out. It is a fucking blizzard. Mm-hmm. We go in. It is like normal sleet. Not a lot of snow. We come out. It is white. And the movie theater in Worcester is about a mile. It's probably like 2 or 3 miles from campus. So there's like a strip. There's like a strip. Lots of things. It's a small town. There's like a downtown area, and then there's the campus, and then kind of up, there's like a strip of like all the strip mall stuff, normal Walmart, Target, all that shit, right? Mm-hmm. So the movie theater was up towards the strip mall. And we come out, and it's 10:30. I don't have a car. We took the bus there. And it's snow. It's like we couldn't. It was just like blizzard. And we're like, well, how the fuck are we going to get home? I was like, I'm going to call Big Poop. I was like, Big Poop, like, I'm going to message Big Poop, and he's going to come pick us up, and he's going to drive us back.
Oh, geez. And you've never met him?
Never met him.
Oh, my God. Oh, this could
probably the worst decision, probably the most irresponsible. The fact that Bailey stuck with me through this is like, crazy. So we go. Oh, man. And here comes Big Poop, Mr. Poop. Drives up in his whatever the fuck car. Hey, oh, it's good. Thanks. Appreciate it. Boom. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Drives us back. Drives at the dorm. Friendship was formed.
Wow.
Perfectly nice gentleman. Of course, we were talking about. I went over to his apartment probably once or twice to watch baseball during school. We went to a Akron Rubber Ducks game together at one point. And yeah, so we stayed in touch.
Wow. And he lives in Canton now, I think.
Now he moved. Yes, he definitely moved. I don't know.
Canton's not that far from Akron. I mean, the team used to be the Akron Canton.
And also, yes, and not that far from Worcester either. So, but yeah, man, Big Poop. Probably one of the craziest things that I've ever done was be like, oh, hold on, Bailey. Like, I know we've only been dating for a couple months, but trust me, I'm going to message this guy. He goes by Big Poop. He's going to come pick us up in his car, and he's going to drive us back.
I would love to. Yeah, I'd love to hear her version of the story.
I'd love to hear his version of the story. So you need to get him on here too. Okay. But yeah, so that's my Big Poop. But again, awesome dude. He supported us since the beginning.
I mean, I've talked to him at times. I mean, but again, I've never. But that's the thing. The fact that he's been a part of this too is like so. Like I love. That's another one of those things that like. I could never leave because as long as I could never ever leave. So, anyway, on that note. Yeah, on that note, I mean, how can you top Big Poop? So I know this has gone on for quite a while, so we should probably wrap it up. But I want to thank you for coming on, and I know you've been working very hard at the podcast guesting this evening. So we're gonna at least I don't know what's gonna happen in the future of this. I mean, I'm gonna have at least 13 episodes, right? I don't know if I'm probably going to have separate episodes for the two guys from Temple Terrace, but
sure.
so I guess 14. And I bet you Martin has some stories too with his the way he's moved around.
Yeah, absolutely.
So and that stuff's fascinating to me. I mean, it's one thing for people like I grew up in a baseball town. My dad had tickets every single year as part of a ticket pool. I got to go to games, like, a couple games every year. It makes perfect sense why I would be a baseball fan. Yeah. But then you have someone like Crash, who's been to one game.
Way more interesting.
Crash has been to one game in his whole life. In 1991. I mean, Nathan, who I think has been to more than one game, but he's had to fly all the way to the United States to go, to the games. And that's the stuff that fascinates me as to how these people become fans and end up doing something like this. And so that was really the genesis for this whole thing. So anyway, I'm gonna let you go. I appreciate all your time, and hopefully, I know this recorded this time, unlike previous episode 2.
Make sure you're going to stop recording it.
Yes.
And you'll see. And then I know it'll save the file after we end the call.
Yes.
But this was a blast. Thank you so much for doing this. And honestly, it's not like, this is such a wonderful time, no matter who listens to it. I'm so glad you're doing this project, because I love that I will now have more information about the people that I've been in this league with for fucking 8 years, 9 years.
And it's such a weird thing. You don't know, you feel like you know people, but you don't know them.
Exactly.
Even after you talk to them like this.
Exactly.
I mean, it's still
the beauty of it, man, like that's, and honestly too, like, especially now and after this last year, like, I crave meeting new people so fucking much. I just want to meet new people. I want to be out there. Like, we can't, whatever we can't, right? And like the feeling of getting to know someone else and learning their story is like, that's my personality, especially, is so much about that. So giving me this opportunity to learn more about you and to learn more about other people is freaking awesome. And I appreciate it. So thank you, Scott.
All right, man. Have a good one. I'll talk to you soon. We're gonna do a league-wide happy hour for the All-Star game. You're probably gonna be working.
Well, that's fine. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be dropping the Zoom link or dropping whatever. We'll make something happen.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe you're gonna be working.
We'll see what happens.
But we'll talk about you. All right. Have a good one, man.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it, dude. Talk to you soon.